It's Wednesday, August the 30th, and this is your Barbados Today Morning News Update. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Thanks for joining us. Topping the news at this hour, police were last night probing a double murder in Marleyvale, St. Philip, in which two young men were gunned down in the same area. Initial reports said a 21-year-old and a 23-year-old were liming by a shop when a car drove up and the occupants shot them in the head and sped away. The men died on the spot. This means that with 4 more months to go before the year ends, the present murder toll of 25 exceeds the 22 for the whole of last year. It also means that 21 of the homicides this year are by the gun, compared to 16 of the 22 for the entire year last year. Uber, the taxi ride services company, which is expected to operate in Barbados sometime in the near future, is under investigations by the U.S. Department of Justice for possible violations of the bribery laws. This is the latest in a series of legal wranglings at the Uber, which is receiving mixed reactions from Barbadians regarding its pending arrival here. Arguing that prison should be for the most dangerous and violent offenders only, noted specialist in correctional reform Yolanda Ford is appealing to the authorities to impose what she calls more sensible sentencing on young people who run afoul of the law. She's insisting that incarceration simply creates generations of hardened criminals. In fact, Ford is suggesting that some offenders should not even be brought before the court, preferring instead diversionary programs for the youngest among the delinquents.
If the person reaching the court is a juvenile, we do need a battery of well-designed diversionary programs. Criminological research has shown that juveniles who have an early involvement, or let's say children, so it's a less labeling term, children, youth, who have an early involvement in the criminal justice system or the juvenile justice system, tend to stay in the system. There are definite merits to having some programs that, one, if possible, divert children from going to court and being treated like adult prisoners. And there's even more merit in having diversionary programs that certainly keep them from detention.
Barbados has been highly praised for its fight against HIV/AIDS. However, a top UN/AIDS official believes more can be done. Regional Director for Latin America and the Caribbean, Cesar Nunez, says he is generally satisfied with the significant emphasis being placed on addressing the epidemic, particularly in the area of antiretroviral therapy.
So from a public health point of view, I can see that there's commitment, and a commitment that has translated into budgets. We're going through very difficult times, and we are really trying to bring the different countries to the table, the countries in the Caribbean and Latin America, to address what's going to happen. There are some countries that are already receiving grants or foreign aid when those funds are not there. And I see Barbados actually as an example of how a country has been able to perform without that aid. Maybe there has been some, but for most of the response in Barbados, it has been funded from domestic resources through public health policy implementation, and where treatment is delivered or given to people who need it.
In sports, England captain Joe Root said his side was not complacent as they suffered a shock 5-wicket defeat by West Indies in the second test at Headingley yesterday. Root declared late on day 4, setting West Indies a target of 322, 10 days after they beat the Windies by an innings and 209 runs in the first test.
Being brutally honest, the first 2 days we weren't as good as we can be. To bat first, win the toss and only make what we did is probably not anywhere near what what we're capable of, and I think the most pleasing thing for me was the way we fought back into the game. Previously, when we've been behind the 8 ball, we've struggled to do that. I thought we showed great character, great determination and fight to get in a position last night where we could declare, put them under pressure and try and get a win from, looking at the back end of day 2, it was an unlikely possibility. So really pleasing on that part, and very frustrating that we weren't able to take the 10 wickets today. When you get to this level, if you give guys opportunities, they generally go on and hurt you. And it's been a strange test match. There's been so many catches go down. It's hard to put your finger on it. It's not always the easiest viewing ground. I'm not trying to make excuses, but that's something that is the case here at Headingley. But we have to be better.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
We are the tridents, we run it down. Everybody know we the baddest around. Anything test, we will throw that down. Come in, Peter, and tell me how me sound. Yes, lyric, you're talking the truth. When we walk up there, they have to salute. Boy, when we put on the trident suit, we put everybody from you. Let's go, tridents. Barbados tridents. Let's go, tridents. Barbados tridents. Wash them all. Dust them all. Knock them all. Send them all. Run them all. Rush them all. Get them all. Dust them all. You know why? Barbados tridents is better than anything. Nothing can test with beating.
Thanks for staying with us for the regional news. Jamaica is reporting a third-quarter rebound in economic growth for the country. Minister of Finance Audley Shaw says the government is now predicting an estimated 2% expansion, up from the 0.3% growth for the previous quarter. If realized, the third-quarter growth will be the fastest recorded for the same time a year ago, with tourism leading the way.
The tourism industry was targeted in this quarter for a growth of 4%. It's now being projected that it's growing by 10%. That's what's happening. So you see a certain momentum is beginning to take shape in the economy. And we continue to target the large projects, even as we speak. We are now finalizing for the other phase of the North-South Highway development, to continue into hotel construction, housing construction, as well as the Caymanas Economic Zone.
And on the international scene, as Tropical Storm Harvey battered the U.S. to devastating effect, another area of the world was stricken by flooding. While all eyes were on Texas, the death toll from monsoon floods in India, Bangladesh, and Nepal crept above the 1,200 mark. Receiving less media attention than the U.S., rescue workers scrambled to provide relief to millions of people stranded by the worst flooding the area had seen in years. All 3 countries suffer yearly flooding in the monsoon season, which runs from June to September, but this year is far worse than usual. And that's news and sports, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. Also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, or screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you, as well as Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Have a fantastic day.